ideas, inspiration, innovation. This is The Game Changer. And now here's your host, Chicky Fitzgerald.
Good afternoon, this is Chicky Fitzgerald, and welcome to The Game Changer. And we have, I would say, one of the game changers with us in the field of sales and marketing. And I had contact with him a number of years ago when I interviewed him the first time. And so back by popular demand is Stu Heinecke. Stu, welcome.
Thank you so much, Chicky. What a great honor to get to join you on a day like this. Man, launch day.
No kidding.
Yeah.
And so the relaunch is of your book, How to Get a Meeting with Anyone. And I will tell you firsthand that the mechanisms that we're going to be talking about today are things you've probably never heard of, but you will not forget them. And I want you to run, not walk, out to the various outlets. And I'm sure Stu will tell us at the end of the interview where you can buy the book. But today is launch day, which is super exciting. And before we get into the contents of the book, I want to tell you, Stu, I loved your campaign with the airplane flying around. That was just brilliant. So was that your idea, or did you have a marketing person who planted
No,
that?
that was mine. I'm playing around with, well, how do I keep talking about the book, because a lot of people know. I was like, okay, we know the story now.
Right.
Yeah.
But attention getters, I would say, is really one of the cores of what this book is all about. And I want to talk just a little bit because I have interviewed you before about this methodology, not about this book, but this methodology. So why don't we start with what is contact marketing and why has it changed since the last time you issued the book?
Well, I would say actually contact marketing hasn't changed. The way that we're finding people is changing. AI is I think is miraculous. So it's allowing us to, obviously everyone knows this now. It's allowing us to do things we've never been able to do before. And certainly finding the right people, finding them when they're, let's say when they're looking for what it is you sell. So buyer intent signals, all kinds of real-time trigger events and so forth. It's allowing us to do things that we've not been able to do before and see things we've not been able to see before. That's great. But we still have to make these human-to-human connections. So you asked, what is contact marketing? And it's still this, gosh, now all these words come flooding into and only a few words can come out at a time.
Right.
But it's using audacious, clever, I would say agency level creative to reach out to people who are our most important prospects. I talk about a top 100 list in the book, How to Get a Meeting with Anyone, but they're our most important potential contacts, and they could be well, certainly they could be dream clients. They could also be mentors. They could be strategic partners. But these are the people that if we meet them, if we connect with them, they will move the needle in our lives. It'll change our scale. So this doesn't sound very definition-like, but still, that's what we're shooting for: people who can change the scale of our lives, our careers, and we're using audacious. I would say extraordinary means to reach out and create a human-to-human connection.
Right. Stu, I wonder, one of the things that you talk about is creating this top 100 list. And I wonder if people really in the back of their minds have already written off, oh, I'll never get to talk to XYZ, right? So they're not even in your CRM system. And I would suggest that the very first thing people need to do is to think about what would happen. And many of us have early stage companies and we're working from home. What would happen if we rented the most fabulous office space, and as you're walking in, there's this big wall and it's blank? Who do you want on the wall? What are the logos that if there were no constraints? And I will tell you that this book actually helps you remove those constraints. So let's talk a little bit about the tactics and the methods, because those are certainly absolutely core. And why you, Stu? Why are you the person bringing this message? Because there's a really good reason behind this.
Well, yeah, there is. I started by using cartoons. So I'm one of the Wall Street Journal cartoonists. You can see, if you can see us, you can see there's a cartoon behind me. I use my cartoons a lot, and I use them for a very good reason. Cartoons are the best read and remembered parts of magazines and newspapers. They are when we send them an email, they tend to double open rates if people know there's a cartoon in there. So people still love to engage with cartoons, and they've been an amazing device. I mean, I used it to launch my agency. I spent $100 on a campaign to 24 people and I launched my agency there. I got through to all of them. I was reaching out to all the magazine publishers at the time. I wanted to create direct mail campaigns in the publishing industry, and it took one campaign to 24 people, and I got them all to meet with me. I got them all to become clients, and that was my first introduction to contact marketing. So yeah, I mean it. I guess that would be why I started with a 100% response rate campaign. I didn't know what to call it, so I called it a contact campaign. And then after that, I thought, well, okay, who else can I reach? I mean, this seems like a secret, like kind of a secret weapon. And so I reached out to presidents. I mean, I was just trying anybody, and I like anybody who was like way beyond my reach. And I kept thinking, these are people I should never be able to reach. And I realized that's not the way to think about this. You should be able to reach anyone. That's
Yes.
really that's really the deal. And so, yeah, that's probably why. And I'm also mischievous as
Exactly.
hell. So,
Right.
it
Well,
helps.
I just wanted to interject. If you think you can't, that is generally true. And if you think you can, and I will tell you, when I started my podcast 15 years ago, I knew I wanted to interview authors, and I really wanted to interview best-selling authors, right? Or up-and-coming authors who would become bestsellers. And I thought the same thing initially of, oh, I'll never get them to answer my call. But you were one of the early ones, and I just asked you, and you said yes, right?
Yeah.
So if we expect the yes, it's a really different mindset of entering into these contact campaigns. So, why don't you share with us a couple of the stories? I know you've alluded to the fact that you were incredibly successful, somebody you thought you'd never get through to, and how the cartoon really broke through that.
Sure. Well, before I do that, though, I want to just remind you and the audience of a quote by Wayne Gretzky, the great hockey player, and he said, "You miss all the goals you don't shoot." Like
Right.
all the shots you don't shoot. I don't actually, I really screwed that up. But basically, he's saying if you don't take the shot, you are guaranteed not to get the goal, and
Absolutely.
and that is exactly true here as well. So, gosh, I mean. There's so many times that I've sent cartoons to people and gotten through. One of them was Rick Dees. Do you know who he is? The radio personality. I mean, like a long, 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 long time ago, he was just my favorite DJ. He was the top DJ in the I think in the world, certainly in the country, and
Right.
and he was right there in L.A. where I was, and so I sent him a postcard with a cartoon about him on the thing, and he invited me in right away, so I've been creating his Christmas cards ever since. We've been doing this a long, long time, and God, they go to people. I mean, they go to Arnold Schwarzenegger and Jerry Bruckheimer and Tim Allen, and so they go to all these celebrities, and it's been cool. We've been working together ever since then, um, and I don't know that cartoons, I want to say also, it's not just about cartoons. I mean, contact marketing is a very broad topic in terms
Right.
of creativity. And so cartoons aren't like, you don't have to be a cartoonist to do this. It's just the thing that I do. So, uh,
Well, I know you have some stories about gifts and visual
yeah,
metaphors that are
yeah,
very powerful. So why don't you share your favorites?
sure. Well, one favorite, I have a bunch of favorites, but it's the one that comes to mind right away is Dan Waldschmidt's sword campaign. So Dan is a turnaround specialist, and and he has this really interesting process for. He probably changed it now because of AI, but he has this very interesting process for finding CEOs of companies that are in trouble, and then reaching out to them and connecting with them and getting them as clients. So what he would do is comb the business news every morning looking for stories of missed earnings estimates. When he found one, he had a sword made up by the prop maker who made the swords for all the movie Gladiator. I don't know if it's the same one that's making it for the next movie, but beautiful swords. They're not sharpened, thank God. It's a good idea.
Yeah, that would be bad.
Yeah, it would be bad. And so he has a sword made, and it's inscribed with the CEO's name and and one of Dan's favorite inscriptions: "If you're not all in, you're not in at all." That goes into this beautiful wooden box, felt-lined wooden box with a handwritten note, and the note says, "Business or dear Chicky, if it was going, thank God you don't need Dan's services, but dear Chicky, business is war, and I noticed you lost a battle recently. I just wanted to let you know, if you ever need a few extra hands in battle, we've got your back." So that's what the sword's about. It's not a gift; it's a visual metaphor. It's this dramatic physical demonstration of the power and the thinking that Dan brings to the assignment. And so he's getting. I mean, I want to say also, it costs him $1,000 every time he has one made up, sent out, but he's getting 100% response rate to that campaign.
Well, and I suspect his ROI on that is pretty substantial.
It's good. Yeah, really good. And I was, when I first started out, I was told in the direct marketing area or arena that 100% response rates were absolutely impossible. But there are a lot of stories of people getting 100% response rates, and that's one of them.
That's absolutely amazing. So how about you've got a concept called free and nearly free. And I'd love to hear a little bit of what's behind that.
Yeah. Well, and I want to say that comes from this whole section in the book that didn't change at all in the update, because these tactics they're as relevant today as they ever were. I mean, the original book came out in 2016, but even with AI and all the changes and work from home, et cetera, we still need to make human to human connections. And so that section that didn't change at all. Those are still, that's the gold in this book. But you were asking about free and nearly free. And I would say that's, I guess really one of the ways to do this, there are a few ways to do it, but one of them that really stands out is using email. Email is generally, I mean, roughly it's free. You have to have a computer. So I guess that's not free. You have to have internet service. I'm sure that's not free as well. But otherwise, once you have that covered, it's free. So, I mean, it's free to reach out to anyone in an email. Now, that channel changed. It got more and more and more crowded with unwanted messages and, just a lot of chaff. And so, but what was pointed out to me is that there are certain ways that you can use email that do get through. So that was interesting, right? I shouldn't talk about it. No, of course I will. No, one of them from Aaron Ross, also a fellow author, and Aaron was telling me that he reached out to Mark Benioff, the founder of Salesforce. And it's easy enough to guess what Mark's email address, like almost anyone's email address is. So he reached out to Mark and he said, "Mark, I don't even know if he wasted a few words to say, my name is Aaron," because he would sign it Aaron. But anyway, basically, we do this service. Is that of interest? That was it. And he heard back from Mark within 30 seconds. And I thought, wow, that's pretty cool. I mean, Mark, he's not an easy guy to reach. And so once we finished the interview, I tried it and I heard back from him right away as well. So one of the aspects of this, and it's a thing that I see, it's a mistake that I see people making all the time in their emails, is be very sparing in the words that you. I mean, I want to do it in 12 words or less. That came from Aaron, but it made sense. Whatever your message is, do it in 12 words or less. And when you do that, the thing that's unspoken and certainly unwritten in there is, I respect your time. And so
Yeah.
I'm just going to get right to it. I'm just going to ask you real quick. All of it is very quick and respectful. And short copy really is then one of the keys. And you see people that are using all these email sequences and they're throwing page long or worse, but page long copy at people. And then there's a slug at the bottom that says it was sent by, through, I don't know, HubSpot or Constant Contact or something.
Right,
Subscribe,
right,
unsubscribe here. So it's not a personal message. Don't send
right,
those. They
right.
they suck. They're awful. Don't send those things. They don't, no one's going to read the copy. It's way too long. But do what Aaron did and what Aaron showed me to do, which is just send one line, one or two lines anyway, and no more than a dozen words and see what happens then and make it very direct. Don't waste their time.
Well,
So
and I think
that's
the
one.
expectation has been, I need to educate you enough to say yes, instead of realizing that what you're trying to get them to say is tell me more, right? Which
That's
demands
true.
more
Yeah.
time.
Yeah. How would you do that? Yeah. Ask a question, but they return with, well, wait a minute, how would you do that? Yeah, very good, very good. So it all happens very quickly, and it's and so another one, Mark comes from Mark Hunter, famous sales author. He's written a lot of just top-notch books on selling, and so Mark was saying, timing is a critical part of this. So he's got a few things to suggest to us. One is if you're going to do prospecting, do it whether it's email or on the phone. Do it on Friday afternoon. And he said, you won't believe the people that you will get through to CEOs because the rest of the office is taking the day or the rest of the day off. And they're impressed that you're working Friday afternoon. And he's had some great conversations on those Friday afternoons. But for emails, he likes to reach out either early Saturday morning or Sunday evening, I don't know, around right around dinner time. So 6 or 7, maybe it's PM. And again, very short copy, but when he reaches out then, there's no secretarials or there's no assistant screening the email. You're getting through right to the person you wanted to reach. And again, if you keep the copy very, very short, like I just described with Aaron's email and my email to Mark Benioff, then you do get through. And so his thinking is, or theory is, Saturday morning, early Saturday morning, they're checking in. Again, nobody's filtering it for them. So they're checking in to see what do they need to take care of before they go and embark on their weekend. And then Sunday evening, it's okay, they're planning ahead. They don't just sort of blindly walk into Mondays with no idea what they're going to do. So they're planning their week ahead. Or just checking in, I don't know, just checking their plan, something. They're checking in though. And that's also a good time to do it. And it's a great time to reach people who are otherwise unreachable. So you can just post about someone and they'll find it and that's free. If it's a nice post, that's free. But that can show up both on the social media feeds, but also in Google not Google searches, but Google Alerts. So there are a lot of really interesting things you can do using digital technology, which is great because by and large, digital technology got way too busy, way too crowded to be promotional, but you can still use it very, very effectively.
Right, right. You talked very briefly about this trend of people working from home. And I will share with folks that I kind of have an inside track here because I saw a post by Stu a couple of weeks ago that he was launching a mastermind. And I thought, ooh, wow, that would be absolutely amazing to sit in a mastermind, not only with Stu, but with the people Stu surrounds himself with. And so on our last mastermind call, we were talking about how do you figure out how to deal with people who are working from home? Where do you, if you're going to send something physical, maybe not the $1,000 sword, but maybe you're going to share with us a little bit how you might sell or send cartoons to them, right?
Yeah.
Tell
Yeah.
us a little bit about this whole notion of people working at home and how do you find them
And how do you find them? And how do you send to
and
them?
not irritate them?
Hey, but before I do that, I want to acknowledge you. You joined our mastermind, and thank you so much for doing it. But I've got to say, I've become so impressed with the people who are saying, "Okay, I'll do it," because it's not free, obviously. So,
Right.
but you have decided, okay, I'm going to invest in myself, and I'm going to do it. And it's so interesting to watch because there are a lot of people say, "Oh, that's so interesting. Yes, send me the information," and then they back off, and they're the ones that remain committed to staying where they are, right? And
Exactly.
so
Well,
I
and
just,
we're going to talk about ROI in a minute because I will tell you, I did the mental math of if I got even one client, right?
yeah.
And it's over the top. So, but
Yeah,
let's.
yeah, yeah. Well, anyway, I just wanted to recognize you, acknowledge you that way. But so we were talking, you were asking about work from home. Very interesting challenge that came up after the original book came out. Obviously, COVID caught us all off guard, and we're all working from home. And now then the question became, well, if I was going to send something physical, and I really what I recommend is not sending things digitally or physical, but both. Use a lot of channels. So,
Right.
and find what works because it's going to work. It will work differently for different people too. But if you're going to send something physical, then the challenge was, well, then where do you send it? And how do you do that? Because if they're working from home, you can find home addresses, but um, uh, fairly reliably. But then if you send something to their home, I mean, if I sent something like that big, pardon me, this is a virtual background, so there's a guy behind me. See that? Anyway, if I sent that big cartoon piece to you, it's 5 feet, 4 feet wide. It's like
Right.
too big to have in your house. It's just like it's really an invasion of your space. And I think just in general, I think we've all, or many of us have gone through this, that someone has reached out to us, they found our home address and sent it, and it feels creepy. It feels like we're being stalked.
Right.
It's not comfortable. So in our mastermind session, I was saying that we really want to find ways to get permission or be directed to send it to their home. So if you're reaching out to a CEO and they have an assistant, then or just reaching out to the CEO themselves, but just ask, where's the best place? Have something I want to send. Where's the best place to send it? Is it at the office? Will they get it at the office, or is there another address I should send? Like just alluding to it, but not even asking where do they live? Don't do that because we don't want to be invasive. So
Right.
so they'll volunteer the information. They'll say, oh, you know what? They're working from home. It'd be odd if a CEO is working from home, actually. But anyway, they're working from home, and so here's their address. Just go ahead and send it. Now you're cleared to send it. You've had a conversation and someone has invited you to send it there, and that's totally different. But if you just send it out of the blue, it's not going to be received well, or chances are it's not going to be received well.
Right.
Yeah, and I think you were asking about the cartoons. You were mentioning the cartoons as well. But that's part of the mastermind is that I have this new development. So I started by creating direct mail campaigns and I've used cartoons in those direct mail campaigns. They're always personalized. They're always out on the front of the piece in some form. So if it's a number 10, like a regular business size envelope, it's just right on the envelope. And it's personalized. It's about you when you get it. It's pretty cool. If it's on a postcard, it's on the front face of the postcard, et cetera. I mean, it's self-mailer, it's on the front face of the postcard. I mean, of the self-mailer. But I've always had this notion, well, what if it's nice that the cartoon is all out in the open and you get to see it and I mean, people treat it the way they do cartoons in magazines. Like they flip the
Right.
page, they flip in the mail. And when they get to that mailing, they stop and they engage with it. They open up. But I was thinking, well, what would happen if instead of showing the whole cartoon, what if we just had just a small square window so you could see a bit of cartoon? There's a cartoon inside. But now the cartoon's inside, hidden behind the envelope, except for that little window. And so I called that the Heinecke window. It's now patent pending. We're bringing it into the world of big direct marketing campaigns with a partner, Direct Mail IO. And it's also part of our mastermind. So if you don't mind, I'll show what that looks like.
Please do.
There's the Heinecke window in a FedEx envelope, a FedEx Express envelope. And so, here's what's happening. When what you can see, it's a window, but when you get it, it's like, wait, whoa, whoa, what's this? what is that? That's pretty cool. And you pull it out. And every time I pull that out, to me, it looks like a magic trick. Phew, all of a sudden, there's a whole cartoon there, and it's about the recipient. It's pretty cool. And so, um, yeah, that's the Heineck window. One of the things that I love about that is that before that, we were using these large printed personalized cartoons, but large printed cartoons on foam core board, 18 so a foot and a half by 2 feet. That doesn't sound very big, but it's big. It's really big. And they're expensive. They're $250 a piece to send. No, that's not even true, to produce. And then there's FedEx on top of that. But when we use, I'm going to hold it up again. When we use FedEx's own envelope and we cut a window, I think you might have gotten your tools today. I'm not sure. Yours are
I
coming.
haven't gone out to get it yet.
Shoot. Okay. Well, so I've sent you a template that's part of being a part of the mastermind, so that you can cut these windows. So FedEx supplies those envelopes for free. And then we're just using things that you print on your printer. If you have a laser printer in your office or your home, you just print these elements on your laser printer. So again, this that cartoon element is just printed. It's an 8.5 by 11-inch sheet. So it all fits together beautifully. And the only cost to send that is I've been sending it FedEx Super Saver or Express Saver, I think it is. On you checking one rate, little notation there. It's $10. That's it. And it's being delivered by FedEx in a FedEx envelope. But an envelope unlike any other FedEx envelope. So that's pretty cool. Anyway, that's the Heineck window. We're also doing them in mailing. There's the card version of it, and it comes out of there, and it's a folded card, and there's no message in there, but you'll write a message. You'll have your own details on the back. So that's all part of the mastermind. And I think I'll tell you, I've been using it a bit. I sent one of those to Bjorn Ulvaeus, so one of the B's of ABBA. And so far, we've gotten through to his publicist. He said, I don't have time for an interview. That's what I was pitching, an interview, but I'm going to send it. It's about his hotel. I mean, the cartoon I did was about his hotel. A couple is at his hotel having lunch, and they're looking around at it sort of in wonder. And one of them is saying to the other, I understand the owner used to be a singer of some sort. That's only for Björn. It couldn't be for anyone else. So I'm going to send that to him. And as a card, I'll send it to his hotel, and I will keep it up. And I will get that interview with him for the next book. And it's just fun to be able to send these devices out. They're just like, I know I'm sending like a nuclear bomb out, and it's going to work.
Well, I have to tell you, and I think I shared this with you earlier this week, as I was thinking about who I would send these things out to, there was one particular cartoon that I loved that was a butterfly. And the message behind it is, you need to return my call because my lifespan is only 2 weeks. And I'm phrasing, of course. But I already had someone in mind that I wanted to send that to. Now, I didn't know that guy had actually left the company. And you mentioned Google Alerts. And I want to tell people, if you've ever tried to get to a company and been shut down, make sure to go in and do a Google alert for the company name and for that person's name. Because if they leave and go somewhere else, or they get fired, or even if they get promoted into some different responsibility, now you've got an open door again. But here's what happened is while I'm formulating my top 25 list, because I haven't gone down to the top 100 yet for the mastermind, but in the top 25, the number one was this particular company, and I'm not going to mention who it is, but like a day later, I get a LinkedIn message from this guy, and now I may send him a different cartoon, of course, because
I would suggest
that was for the other guy who never returned my phone call. But anyway, it's just so interesting how when you change your mindset and you open yourself up to the fact that I can get through to CEOs, or I can get through to a CRO who is speaking all over the country and might eventually adopt my stuff and mention it to everybody, right? I mean, there's so many things. This is really a secret weapon.
Well, it is. I would say it's also a superpower. And I'm going to I'm going to just say this. I know it always embarrasses my wife, but my wife is in the other room. And I
Uh-huh.
mean, I'm married to a penthouse cover model from Copenhagen because I saw her in a magazine and I reached out and I went to Copenhagen and met her and we really hit it off. And I'd like, if you don't take the chance, if you Wayne Gretzky again, that was a long shot, but if you don't try, it doesn't happen. And it was like that's the best meeting I've ever had ever in my life. And if you don't try, it doesn't happen.
That is so great. Well, you've been using, a lot of your own tools. And again, if I had seen the Heineck window a couple of times before I saw your note about your mastermind. But I want to talk about ROI
Yeah,
because the company that I was just mentioning to you, in a very conservative situation, and we happen to have a travel tool that allows you to plug travel into the sites and systems that people are using every day. So if you are a CRM executive, your people who are using that CRM are having to go and do face-to-face meetings with people. And what we've been talking about here is the power of face-to-face, right? And so this one client will yield $12 million.
that's
Okay,
a good one.
a
Oh my
year
gosh.
in recurring transactional revenue to my company.
So
So
that's annual
um,
recurring revenue.
yes, and so am
Oh,
I going to
wow.
spend the money to do?
Wow.
Am I just going to print, a paper copy of your cartoon? No, I'm probably going to have it mounted because, and again, you can still use the FedEx shipping, but you can go and pardon me for mentioning a specific vendor, but you can go to Walgreens and have a wood plaque made that has on glass a cartoon, right? And then you can mail that, right? And
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
this cutout that this tool that we're getting, we can put that really literally on any packaging. And so I'm going to go the extra mile, maybe not $1,000 sword, but I'm going to do a really nice cartoon for that particular client. And, again, I think you can also combine these things of these physical gifts, because I mentioned to you the other day, one of the pushbacks we get from our clients is, oh, our IT folks, they have a schedule out to 2030 already, right? There's no time to do this. Even if we tell them it only takes an hour. Well, I bought these beautiful sand timers, the hourglasses. And so I send that and I say, turn that over. And by the time the sand goes through, that's how long it takes to install our product. Right. And so now we've got to find a cartoon that is about time. Right. Because that's really our biggest thing. So you and I
Well,
are
yeah.
we're gonna look through your old cartoons and see if we can find something special. But I want to mention something else, and I know
Okay.
you
Yeah.
probably don't talk about this in your book, but I want to let people know that they can actually contact you for a bunch of things. And one of them is to talk about this book with sales teams, right? Because
Sure. Yeah.
you're an amazing public speaker, and I'm going to toot your own horn right here, right, so that you don't have to. The second thing is, and again, these things are not free, but they're absolutely worth it. And the ROI will be incredible. You can have Stu do a custom cartoon for you. He talked about doing it for himself, right? But he can do that for you as well. Of you coming up with an idea and him taking the wealth of his background as a cartoonist and doing that. So, Stu, I'd love for you to share where people can buy the book. And if I missed anything of your services, we've talked about your mastermind, we've talked about custom cartoons, we've talked about you speaking, we've talked about people buying the book. What am I missing of what you want people to know after this interview?
Well, I just want to say you don't have to be a cartoon. We talk a lot about in conversations with me. It's natural that we're going to talk a lot about cartoons,
Right.
but the prospect that you mentioned that is worth 12,000 or $12 million a year. Chicky, we're gonna get you in there one way or another. So if they don't respond to a cartoon, that's fine. There are a lot of other ways that we can do this.
Yes.
And the whole point of the mastermind, really, and of the book, all of this, is that there are a lot of ways to do this. And if one doesn't work, we'll go to the next and we'll go to them. We will get you through.
We're going to do
We'll
the
set up a Trojan
horse.
horse. That's right. But we will get you through, and it's not just about cartoons. So, that's one thing. But you asked where you can buy the book. You can buy it almost anywhere. Well, I should say anywhere. Wonderful books are sold. Although I don't think you'll find it at the airport. I will have to check. But otherwise,
Yet anyway.
yeah,
But once they see that it's on the bestseller list, I bet you punch right through that.
it's doing well. It's a #1 hot new release on Amazon this morning. It's doing well, and but you can buy it on Amazon and Barnes and Noble and Bookshop and Books A Million. And so I'd probably go to the publisher themselves, Ben Bella. There are a lot of ways to find it.
Right.
And probably the most common will be Amazon. I forgot to mention, you should come to my author site because I have a little special deal there. If you'll join my email list, I'll send you the first chapter for free. So come to stuheinecke.com.
Absolutely. And it's got an E on the end.
Yes.
So don't forget that when you're doing the URL. But with a name like Stu Heinecke, it's actually super easy to find him in LinkedIn. He does answer when you send him notes. And I would love to ask people when you try some of these things. So buy the book. Second, try some of these things and then post on LinkedIn about it. And I want you not only to tag Stu and how to get a meeting with anyone. I think you probably have a hashtag for the book, but also because my name is super easy too on LinkedIn. There's only one of me, Chicky Fitzgerald. So follow me and tag me because I want to hear about these things because I've got way more than 100 people I want to go after. My product, has just a massive audience, but still very, very highly targeted and not easy to get into. And as you mentioned, everybody's being bombarded with AI emails, AI LinkedIn messages, all of this. And I think the best thing you said today, Stu, was 12 words, right? Keep your outreach short, sweet, and to the point. And please don't make that line, did you read my email that I sent you yesterday? Right. That is got to be the worst. We didn't talk about the bad things that people do in contact.
No, we did. That could be a whole other episode for sure.
The anti-pitch. Right? Anyway, Stu, I just so appreciate your friendship. I appreciate your creativity. So excited. I'm only in my first week of the mastermind, and I'm going back to listen to the other 4 that happened before I joined. But there's still room, right? You still have.
There's still room. We still have charter seats open, which is great. You pay less. The tools that I send, you get to keep them. Otherwise, you have to return them when you leave the mastermind, if you ever do. So
Right.
yeah, there's some great benefits to joining right now. A few of those open charter seats. Yep.
Well, excellent. So we have been talking to the author of How to Get a Meeting with Anyone, and he means it. And I will tell you that if you need encouragement, again, follow him on LinkedIn and visit his website. But I will tell you that this book is worth its weight in gold. And, if you don't think you can afford the mastermind, at least buy the book. And then I think you're going to say, oh my God, I would get to spend every other Friday with this guy. Yes, you will.
Well, it's even more than that. We do a lot. We're doing a lot
And it's
together,
great
aren't we?
fun. And
Yeah.
the other people who are in it are just awesome as well. And so they're sharing their stories of success. And I can't wait to be one of those success stories too.
Excellent. Well, I can't. Oh man, I want you to be able to tell the story of, yeah, I joined the mastermind, and then we did this, and that either that worked or it didn't. We kept with it, and all of a sudden we got through, and oh my God, 12 million ARR from this one effort. That's pretty cool. That would be amazing.
Really cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Stu, thank you so much. And I just hope your week is just filled with amazing creativity and great stories of the results people are getting with this book.
Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you.
You've been listening to The Game Changer. Ideas, inspiration, innovation with Chicky Fitzgerald.